Let's now look at a really important skill that's required for the reading test, and that, of course, is the skill of skimming. So skimming, what do we mean by skimming? Well, skimming is really understanding the main idea. In IELTS, there's so much to read, you just don't have time to read every single part of it. There's also going to be words that you don't understand, so you don't have time to kind of go slowly through here and try and understand what each word means. No, you've really got to go through there as quick as you can and skim. And the way we do that is often we look firstly at the heading or the whatever headline or the subheading that you might have in there, and we also look at the first sentence of paragraphs, and often we'll look at the last sentence as well. In this case, it might be the last few ideas there. So if it's a well-written paragraph, you're going to have important information in this sort of topic sentence as well as this sort of concluding sentence. And that's often a great way to read. Even if you're reading the newspaper or magazine or some sort of article online, you could even just read the first line and the last line and get a pretty good idea of what the main point is. So let's have a look at this article. Obviously, it's talking about Van Gogh, and Van Gogh is a famous artist. Fairly simple sort of title. So we get a feeling that we're going to hear all about the art of Van Gogh, what sort of paintings he did, what colours he used, perhaps, a bit of a biography of Van Gogh. So, as we said, we've sort of talked about this. Obviously, it's Europe's an important point. We might see if we can find any other. Oh, we know these guys. We've probably heard of these guys before. So we're getting the feeling that it was the Impressionism, and that was really Van Gogh who's part of Impressionism. He was born, 1853 in Holland, and during his youth he lived 20, moved to London. So he's lived in London, and then he became a preacher there, and then he actually decided to paint, and he moved back to Holland, and no income. He was forced in poor conditions. So we can see that this is an early struggle. And Van Gogh's early painting depicted the working class. He showed beautiful scenery and rich people. So by painting, previously art had shown beautiful scenery and rich people, but he is different. His art is about helping people. And he was an artist with an original mind. So we can even see some of the main topics here if we're making our roadmap. We could talk about, this could be about Impressionism and sort of a new style. And then this one is early years, probably. Early years. And then here we're talking about working class people. All right, let's have a look over the page and we'll have a look at what it says here. Van Gogh went to Paris in 1866, so he's moved to Paris. While he was there, he met other artists. Okay, we can see he's talking about painting with red and green. On one occasion, he actually had a bit of mental illness. Van Gogh cut off his ear while having a fight, so we know that was a important point of his life. That's a famous story. So what could we talk about here? We could talk about France and maybe conflict. Was suffering depression and poverty, painted desperately, one painting often working on one at a time. The last 70 days of his life, 81 paintings. So it's very prolific at the end. We could have maybe last days. At the time of his death, he was little known. However, soon after, he became meaningful today. So what we could call his legacy or his fame builds after life. There we go. So we've got a pretty good sort of idea of what's the main point of this article. And now we would go through and look at the questions one by one.